Oh, and it's 11:11.
Look at that.
Of course it is.
Right, we listened to our intuition. We were having a great conversation about what we're feeling in today's energy. And look at that, 11:11, right on cue. So, Miriam, would you kind of rewind back to the comment you made about like how you're feeling and what's kind of coming up for you? Because we all were like, yes, I think this is something we should maybe talk about. We all had that little tingly sensation that this is a topic worth discussing here. So yeah, take it away.
Yeah. It feels like there's some sort of detoxing and upgrading that's happening where, one of the factors that I'm very aware of that's shifting our experience is Three Eye Atlas. And this, whatever you perceive it to be or perceive to be in there, for me, I'm always tuning into the energies, the emanations, and how they're showing up in my body. And so we have this object that's not usually in our solar system that's now moving through. And the concept of neutrinos can be a way to tune into like what's happening, where anything above us or around us is kind of emitting energy. And that energy, as it interacts with our body and as we start tracking it, can we can start to get a sense of what's happening. And for me, it feels like a scattering, a detoxing, a lifting of things to the surface, which is making my sleep way more challenging, more choppy. I'm actually having more intense dreams where I feel like I'm actually in a place and I feel like the people I'm with are so clear to me, even though I don't recognize them from this lifetime. And when I wake up, I have tools to work with because I like to re-enter the dream and start to kind of go through those portals and re-experience things. So it feels like my current reality is being almost dismembered and other pieces are being reintroduced to me through the dream world and through the neutrinos or these energies that are constantly flowing through and almost like shaking out my system. And Northstar, you were saying something really interesting about your dreams and in your experience, which is pretty different but really profound.
Yeah, well, I'm a little jealous of yours. Sounds like you're getting a little more to consciously work with. And it's interesting because, well, actually, now that we talk about it, it's interesting that you're talking about detoxing and wow, I'm gonna just mute my computer blowing up. Um, I feel like for me, there's this dismemberment, like you said, but it's really from old identities and attachments. And so it's interesting that dreams have been such a kind of primary portal for my spiritual work and have always been a place that I felt that I had really clear access. And it's really disorienting that right now that feels like it's being taken from me. And so I wonder if maybe that's part of the medicine, but I've been having a lot of trouble sleeping too. And then when I do, I feel like that kind of liminal hypnagogic state is expanding. Like I don't know how much deep sleep I'm getting. And even in my waking hours, it feels like I'm kind of just constantly in this liminal fog lately. And when I do wake up, I find I'm really disoriented for quite a while. Like, I don't know where I am. I don't know who I am. Like, it takes a few minutes for me to land back in my kind of physical, finite self. And there's an energy and an emotion attached to wherever I was in the dream world that feels palpable. And there's like a longing to return, like you described, really being somewhere else. Um, and yet I can, in terms of conscious recall, there's this wall there that seems like I'm perhaps not supposed to. And I wonder, as we're in this kind of state of this potential upgrade that this energy is bringing us and some kind of evolution of consciousness, at least I hope is what's happening. I think we've talked a lot together about how, any ascension requires kind of an equal and opposite descent. And I think is where gaining new intuitive powers, and I feel like, telepathic, and we really are kind of upgrading our energy body and our light body, and those capacities. In order to make room for that, it's like really needing to clear out and let go of all of the stuff that's kind of lower frequency holding us back. And first and foremost is identity. So it's just interesting for me that both on the kind of day world practical side, there's been a lot of questioning of, and this impulse to really get clear on what's priority right now. What are we really needing to put our life force to, and where are the places where, our energy is kind of being wasted or diffused on things that aren't serving the highest. And so even on this kind of daily practical level, this where I'm literally forgetting, it seems like in sleep, who I think I am, which is kind of definitely destabilizing, but I think, or I wonder if that's the point. Um, yeah.
That's fascinating. I can really relate to the two pieces, the one, the identity, and the two, the getting clear. Because it's like what you said about we have to descend in order to ascend. It's like I feel like for myself, it's been in this descent for so long. And as we've shifted into this energy, it's like my dreams like yours. I'm kind of jealous of Miriam because you have your dreams here, and it's like mine have been dialed way back where there's maybe one I'll remember, whereas I could wake up and write a novel on what I dreamt and where I went and who was there and all these different metaphors for what I was experiencing in those dream states. But it's almost as if I'll have one little message and then I'll wake up as tired as when I went to sleep. And there's no real I want to say recalibration. It's like a continuum into the next day. And it's like we're going through this wave and shedding off these pieces that are no longer serving to so that I can get clear. So why I started there, it's like they were showing me like peeling back that onion layer, just that gentle thin layer, very with a lot of ease. I'm stumbling over my words because I'm having more pictures come through, but it's like peeling back that layer of onion with ease. And as I go through the wave, now other layers getting torn away. And it's been really beautiful because there has been this clarity that has come through. And I found a lot of it is really veering me to that purpose. Like, why am I here? And I find that interesting because I haven't thought about that for a long time. I just surrendered to it. I'm like, it'll show up when it's meant to. Like, I feel like I was pushing against the grain for so long. I just like threw up my hands, and now it's like peeling back here in this beautiful way as we move forward into our work together, but also my own work on the side. So it's been really fascinating to see that come through. And the other part of this too is like there's been a lot of physical ailments. I've actually had a lot of people ask me like, I'm having these weird physical ailments. Do you think it's because of this energy shift, or do you think it's just me being like me? And so there's been such a vast amount of people from all different spectrums, from all different, not just my clients, but friends, and then people reaching out that I haven't spoken to in a very long time, ask me about this, that there's got to be something going on physically with the body too, like weird things. So I was wondering, like, have you guys noticed your own body? I know for me, I've had a lot of really intense physical symptoms, but I'm wondering, besides the fatigue, besides all these different things we already spoke about, what else are you noticing maybe in work or in real time?
Feel like the cough just cued itself forward. Like weeks of coughing and of cold. And what I feel to be happening, what I sense to be happening is that those who have done a certain amount of work and a certain amount of waking up to this reality that is drastically shifting, we're going through a detox. And some
Mm.
of that is emotional detox. So Northstar waking up with a feeling, and maybe it's not a pleasant feeling, or maybe it is a pleasant feeling, but just allowing that feeling through helps us to move through it so it's no longer lodged in our body. And for me, those are a little more pleasant than like the symptoms, but the symptoms of, for me, it's coughing, clearing out the lungs, kind of, looking at traditional Chinese medicine, the lungs are holding old grief. And so allowing that out and seeing it come out to be less pleasant around it. But like there is a physical detoxing, and there's this prophecy that we keep feeling, we keep returning to, that from the Andes, but also from various different indigenous traditions, of this shift from Homo sapien to Homo luminous. And if you think about who we are and how our bodies have been poisoned, is one way to say it, through the earth, through the sky, through the water. All of this needs to come out in order for us to restore ourselves to that divine light that we are. And so we're peeling the layers of the onion, we're peeling the layers of the toxin out. And those of us who are experiencing more intense symptoms right now are, it means we're towards the end of the road of like, this is what needs to move out of our physical body so we can become even clearer channels for what we already are in touch with, what's already, emanating through us. Sarah, I'm so curious about the things that are coming through about your life purpose.
What caught my attention was the coming into the Homo luminous, and how that light body and how that elevation and really escalation of what we're feeling is all a part of that path, right? And so for me, what's coming up is really almost a rewind back to my childhood, which is that for me, when we're children, we're the most pure, like innocent. Our purpose is very much embedded within us by our passions. And so for me, it's really rewinding back into that passion of music and really being able to sit with it and bring instruments and sound healing back into everything I do. And that's been really interesting because it's been so intuitive just to bring it back in and work with the instruments again. Um, and then I have children, right? So watching them actually come out this morning, I was like, let's go, we got to get to school. And how can I get upset when they're playing the instruments and grounding before they're going to school? So it's been really fascinating to see how when we step into our passions and our purpose of bringing sound therapy in, it's something that doesn't need a language. It is its own language and it's universal. And so, that interplays into like the energetics, right? Energy is indestructible and it's universal as well. And then as we sit in circle and learn about Sophia and all those other aspects of goddess, it's all this energy that's intertwined, and we're using the vowel sounds and really vocalizing and curating music through toning and being able to see how this has all come to this perfect head of collaboration. It's been really fascinating. And again, it was with that simple, not so simple release of surrender and just trusting and seeing this come forth now, how these instruments are literally landing in my lap, being shipped over from India, like all these different things. It's just this perfect collaboration of time and space and I want to say divinity. Like it's totally fascinating to see. And I don't think there's any mistake that with all that's going on, we're able to tap into those vibrations to like to help us move through that grief that's within the lungs, right? To move through the opening of the heart. For me, it's been a lot of chest pains and tightness and the contractions that I've been feeling within the heart space as it opens and expands. And so it's been really interesting to see how that has been moving through, especially that's kind of showing up in those dreams, those individuals that had a huge impact in my childhood, which I haven't thought about, are showing back up in my dream states as teachers. And literally like almost like elfin. It's been really interesting to see like how they're coming back in like almost like a mystic form. So they're wild dreams, but it's been so fun to see as well. But yeah, that's kind of what's showing up. Northstar, what's kind of moving through when I speak and when you heard Miriam, and is there anything else you want to add to that? Because I can see the wheels turning a little bit there.
Yeah, well, a couple of things really stood out to me. I love that you mentioned surrender and this need to move through. And it feels for me like that's the challenging aspect of this moment, and that's also its real power that everything that's being brought up, whether physically or emotionally or energetically, I feel like we're really being asked not to escape or run away or numb out. And for so, well, I wouldn't speak for all of us. Certainly for me, that's a tendency that is not only easy, but very much supported by our culture, where the distractions and more with technology, it's like there's so many opportunities to dissociate and to turn away. And I think there's something that feels so in tune with kind of what we've been discussing and working with Sophia and with the Goddess Grail in general of how fractured we've become as we've separated kind of everything that's happening spiritually from the realities of our physical everyday experience. And it seems like these shifts are really asking, like highlighting what's out of alignment between the spiritual, the energetic, and the physical daily. And then really asking us to bring that back into harmony and whatever changes need to happen so that we can be living more in tune to this higher frequency that's opening to us. And so everything that's standing in the way is being revealed and really asking us to face and work with it. And for me, I'm recognizing how much even some of those symptoms that I really resonate that Miriam was talking about, this clearing certainly. And for me, there's been like a lot of headaches and dizziness, and which kind of mirrors that disorientation that I was feeling. And as I tune into that, it feels like I'm really being called to inhabit my body in a different way. And for me, for sure, I've much of my life has been spent running away from or cutting off from my physical experience. And the message again and again, it feels like these greater potentialities are opening, but we talk all the time in the Goddess Grail that like our body is the vessel that both holds and then also does that alchemical work of transmuting those energies into material form, into, the stories of our lives, our shared consensus reality. And so there's this need to kind of upgrade the vehicle in order to be able to hold those higher frequencies. And so part of my work that I've been led to intuitively right now is so simple, but really tending that physical vessel with movement, with healthy food, with enough water that I'm praying over, with making sure that I'm exercising every day, waking up with meditation, even if it's only a few minutes, with writing before I go to bed. Just these ways of being more present with myself that I so easily neglect, thinking that, I think for many of us, there's always that need to get to the next or the higher. And I feel like in order to get there, we're being asked to really be present with what's here now. And so, yeah, that idea of surrender, Sarah, really resonates with me of honoring all that's coming up, not judging it, not running away from it, but really practicing this kind of radical love for ourselves that can face with compassion all that we've been carrying and then start to cultivate that discernment of what is ours and what is not, what can be let go, what can be laid down, and then how to really tend to this vessel and vehicle that is our physical body, that is our temple, so that we can call in more light, more divinity, more possibility. And that it's not an either or process, it's a both and. And so to be gentle and slow and patient, even as the energy seems very fast and intense and yeah, to be in that kind of balance and to continually try and find that equilibrium and grace.
Or sorry, I'm so lit up by what you're saying. First of all the practices around taking care of your physical vessel, that temple of the body, and everything that we're talking about feels like it's coming back to this secret name of the goddess that has revealed itself like through our work together, our studies and our unfoldment, which is Sophia. We've known Sophia through the Greek language, through the Gnostic teachings, but this Sophia with an F, this Sophia that is contextualized in this ancient language and technology of the Hebrew language, which means my end is divine. My limits are divine. My boundaries, the boundaries of my physicality, are divine. And we've spent so much time as humans fighting against, trying to transcend, to ascend, to move out of the body and to deny it. But what happens when we radically accept it? That each of us chose as divine beings this particular vessel for a particular reason or numerous reasons in this lifetime. And so what happens when we absolutely honor and bless the perceived limitations of my soul is in a physical form, and that physical form might have creaky knees, it might have a cough, it might have trouble sleeping. What are these limitations here to teach us? And I don't know if I'm ready to speak about this, but I've been doing some profound okay, here goes. I've been doing some profound transformational work within of sitting with the most uncomfortable sensations and emotions that have been present in me for many, many years. And they show up as physical discomforts, and especially they're intensified around people, which for years I was like, there's something wrong with me. I'm leaking energy, like I'm making other people uncomfortable. But when I actually go in and allow myself the space and the consciousness, the presence of mind to feel and allow these feelings to work their way through me, what I'm noticing is that the physical body that I've known as human, woman, whatever label you might put on it, these sensations are expanding as they unfold. They're expanding my sense of what my body is on an energetic level, and I'm starting to feel it as bigger. I'm feeling it as having wings. I'm feeling it as like many feet above my head and below my feet. It actually feels like the body of a dragon. And I'm just at the beginning stages of what do I do with this, but also how do I continue to sit with all of the places where uncomfort, discomfort still remains in my body, because I'm pretty aware that I've only unfolded the back aspect of the body, and there's still plenty of discomfort for me to go into and unfold. What does the front body look like? Is it still dragon? Is it something else? And realizing that these limitations, these things that plagued me for years of why do I feel so uncomfortable in my body, they're actually the key to my unfoldment on a level that's still being revealed.
Wow. I feel like I don't know how to follow that up.
How do you? Yeah, I don't know how.
Mic drop.
I'm so glad you said wow, because that was the only thing that I could come up with to say, because there is so much juiciness in what you just shared, and sitting with that discomfort, right? And recognizing that what's in the back body, what's in the front body, and how can we expand out the front now? And when I think about that, that feels like the projection outwards. Like, how am I going to now project myself to others, and how scary and vulnerable that might be as well, to be seen for who I truly am beyond these masks I've been wearing in society, with family, with friends. And to me, that feels like there's a tightening in the chest and in the throat. And then it goes down like the spine. It's like, okay, like I see this dragon. It's like, yeah, like let's go. Like we can walk this, we can do this. I'm here for you. So it's like a huge like floodlight coming out of your body being like it's time, that those commercials that like have that like I think they're like Christmas commercials that I keep seeing on like it's time, go dive into consumerism, but like being able to just like show everyone who you truly are and move through that weaving of what's actually here and how can I move through this sensation rather than kind of tuck away into it and away from it, I think is also going to challenge people because they're going to now see your power within you. And I think that I think many of us can, but I think it's also something that, like with everyone in every society and every community, sometimes we hide or minimalize our power or our essence to make others feel uncomfortable. No, to make others feel comfortable, make ourselves maybe feel uncomfortable because we're having to dim our light a little bit. And I've been feeling and seeing, and as you shared that, it's like, aha, like this feels like a piece of the puzzle that we're being asked to no longer do is to dim. It's it's getting us to this point of they're showing me like the top of the mountain. Like you were standing at the top of the mountain, and if you don't allow yourself to illuminate and glow like a beacon, it's going to be a tumble down. It's going to be uncomfortable. The climb up was uncomfortable enough. Like let's allow ourselves to surrender and open our arms and let the wind blow through and around us and swirl and let our magic just kind of illuminate from that beacon point at the very tip of this pivotal moment we're in. I think I don't even have words because I'm just like it's just it sounds really harsh, but it's like do or die keeps coming into my mind and not physically, but like emotionally, energetically, like it's the time like we're shedding again that person that's no longer resonant with us anymore. I think we've all spoken about this in the last few minutes, but it's definitely this pivotal point. And whether it's what's going on through man-made devices or whether it's, astrological or just where we are as a species right now, it's really prominent, really, really prominent.
Wow. That actually, I both recoiled at that do or die, and then also, yeah, I felt this profound truth in it. And I feel like what Miriam's speaking to is actually really core to this shift.
Hmm.
And I think that if this energy is is helping to awaken us to our true potential, to this next stage in human evolution, to becoming that Homo luminous, I think the the barrier for so many of us, and especially for women, is claiming the power that we actually have. And without getting too fringe here, but I think we're in good company, of whether we're just talking about thousands of years of patriarchy or capitalism or potentially more nefarious energies keeping us in a state of forgetting. I think whatever the root cause, we have been in a state of forgetting for generations and really forgetting our own capacity to be those co-creators of reality, that we have that innate divinity. And we've given our power away to so many fill in the blank systems of hierarchical leadership, outside authority, that unconscious social contract that we make: protect me and I will, give you fealty. And I think metaphorically on so many levels, that's been the exchange. giving away our freedom for security, or for the perceived security, because I think we're learning that's been rather a false, yeah, the negotiation was false to begin with. But it really feels like if we are at this turning point, what's being asked of all of us is that we reclaim that personal sovereignty, which for me is so tied to that inner divinity, because it's not an egoic, I'm going to take the power for myself and just turn the tables on who has the power and continue those unhealthy dynamics. But it's really this power through our interconnection. And I think when it's power based in our innate inner divinity, there's an inherent recognition of the divinity of everyone else. And so it's a different kind of power in which the possibility for collaboration and symbiotic relationships and community, yeah, right relationship emerges from starting with having that respect for your own sovereignty and then respecting it in others, and taking it away from these systems that want to separate and pigeonhole and keep us in those states of dependence rather than independence. And then for me, it feels like the next step is really interdependence. And so I think it's actually radical to be, in such a deep way, to be like, actually, I'm tuning into my energy body. And can we swear on podcasts? Maybe I shouldn't. We're a beeping dragon. Like we've been taught we're so small, we're so ineffectual. The systems that be are so overwhelming, and we don't have the power to change it. And then there's, especially as women, I think this fear of really saying, actually, I'm I'm a dragon. And that's such primal goddess energy that's been demonized, that's been so fear mongered around. Like all of these forces of the goddess have become evil and negative. When we look at her essential essence is this primordial power, and we've been taught to fear that. And so there's something hard and so necessary in claiming that, yes, we have that. Our ferocity, our passion is like fundamentally the source of our power. And I think this is the edge that we're all on. And I kind of go back to, because it feels so nuanced. It's not this either or, like I'm so badass from an egoic perspective. It's really this, I am so badass because I am part of the goddess and so are you. And therefore I have the right to create my own reality. And when we come together in that acknowledgement, what we can create collectively is exponentially greater. And I think there's this way in which those kind of more surfacey interpretations or more popular conceptions of manifestation, and through some of the pop culture new age thought of, just think of the Ferrari and you're going to get the Ferrari, is such a twisting of the way reality actually works. And I think it's so laid out in Sefer Yetzirah and these really ancient teachings that we've inherited that have been perhaps misinterpreted or used in certain ways historically. But when we go back to that source material, we find goddess, just like when we go into our own hearts, we find goddess, and we find that she is us, the building blocks of language, of frequency, that we are conscious, we are co-creating reality all the time. And what we're experiencing in consensus reality has come from this place in which most of us are unconscious, buying in with these belief systems that we've inherited, that are not true and are not serving. And yet because we believe them, and it's a lot harder to change a belief system than a thought. And that's why, a lot of people, why isn't manifestation working for me? I'm thinking about the thing, but I think it really happens on this like foundational level of our belief systems. And those take a lot of effort and engagement to unpack and detangle. This is ancestral baggage. This is cultural inheritance of perhaps millennia. And so the way in which we buy into with our time, attention, money, and belief into these systems that aren't serving us, we are co-creating them. And it takes us taking a step back and saying, I get to choose. And when we come together, and there's power in that. And then when we come together in community and then in widening circles, we really do have the power to completely shift the paradigm. And that's what's being asked of us now. And it's a lot. It's a lot and it's overwhelming. And that's why, like, yes, it's both and take care of yourself, go slow, be gentle, and at the same time, be fierce because you're a dragon too, and so am I. And so are like, we have that in us and it's time to claim it. And so honoring you, Miriam, for, yeah, saying the next hardest thing and the scary thing. We've been taught that's so hard to claim, but it's true. And you are, and we are. And like, this is the time.
Yeah. And I just, I want to thank all the people who have come before because it feels like a credit to those who are willing to bare their soul and to say their experiences, even and especially when those experiences don't match up with consensus reality, right? Like, thanks to all the channelers out there, the people who are legitimately opening up and sharing their experience of being in other forms, of connecting to other beings. It's that which paves the road for each of us to move into uncharted territory and say, okay, well, maybe I've never seen a dragon in physical reality, but I can start to sense into this as a possibility because I've heard this person talk about their past life. And so maybe there's a model out here. So I want to thank those who have been saying the hardest things. And I want to encourage each of us to lean into our margins, lean into our perceived limitations, because that's where the treasure is.
That's beautiful. Thank you so much, Miriam. Appreciate that. And yes, and thank you also to everyone who's been listening today. If you want to learn more, you can click the show notes and find our website, thegoddessgrail.com, as well as we have a community where we do live events on Circle, and we'll link all of that for you to engage with at the end of the show. So thank you.